Hey everybody! I recently played Hollow Knight and Silksong for the first time, and this franchise has completely taken over my life. I put like 200 hours between both games in like 2 months, my YouTube recommendations are ruined, and here I am as the knight for a Halloween party. So naturally I had to make a ranking of every Hollow Knight boss. Silksong will be next, so go ahead and subscribe for that. But what counts as a boss? Simple, every enemy in the Hall of Gods counts as a boss. And also the Hollow Knight and the Radiance. When it comes to the variants, I'll be talking about them separately if I feel differently enough. And I actually do in most cases. I also heavily consider for them how they changed the original boss, so it's not enough for them to be good in a vacuum. For my criteria, I consider the following aspects. First, gameplay and combat mechanics. Obviously the most important one. Second, visuals and atmosphere, so everything that has to do with the vibe of the fight. Third, lore and place in the story. This is something I feel a lot of people don't consider, but it's very important for me, which is why I'll be using my 100% speedrun gameplay rather than that of Godhome. With all of that out of the way, I have 44 entries to rank, so let's get to it with F tier and number 44.
Oh, I never would have guessed we press A to jump.
I get Benchfly King is basically a tutorial for pogo jumping, but god, it is so boring. This isn't a boss, it is a stronger than average enemy, and the base game seems to treat it that way, with it having no name introduction or anything really. You can even just walk right past him, but it is in the Hall of Gods, so it counts I guess. Beyond that, despite being so weak and easy, it is also an annoyingly long fight, since he spends most of the time away in the air. This sucks.
I know it's easy to say tonight was just a fluke, and maybe it was. But here's a piece of trivia. A fluke is one of the most common fish in the sea.
Flukemarm is another one that is just so incredibly boring. Basically a stationary bunch of holes that erupts phallic objects at you every once in a while. Wait, no, that sounds wrong. At least there's some novelty with the overall disgusting vibe this boss has, but it's not enough to push it out of F tier. The sounds it makes are very funny though.
To the penis explosion chamber and have his penis exploded immediately!
You know something that is particularly egregious about Uumuu? It is mandatory. There's 3 bosses you absolutely have to fight to beat the game, and this stupid ass jellyfish is one of them. I love the idea of the dreamers having someone guard them, but man, they could have done something more interesting. In any way would have been nice. May it be lore, visual or mechanically, and that is the biggest issue with Uumuu. Its mechanics. First step, wait. Second step, there's no second step. It starts invulnerable and you have to wait for Quirrell to attack, and hopefully you get it in one cycle, or there is more waiting. This one is so boring. At least Quirrell is here and I love him. That was F tier. Let's get on to D tier with number 41.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
This one should be lower on principle alone, but it has a cool design and vibe. Yeah, Wing Nosk is a huge disappointment. Its extremely cool design and surprise appearance are instantly crushed by its boring attack pattern. It is literally Benchfly King all over again. Oh, watch out, here he is swooping down. Oh, never mind, just pogo. Oh, careful, he's screaming. Oh, never mind, he just spawned 2 balloons. Literally the only new thing is that he vomits infection. Boring. So yeah, wasted potential, but it saves itself from F tier with its cool design and concept.
Oh no.
Nothing personal, kid.
We have our first Dreamer variant, and I'm sorry, but I hate the Soul Tyrant so much. Teleporting bosses are hard to pull off properly, because it can feel annoying when trying to hit them, and this one just moves around so goddamn fast. Oh, there he is, let me dash to hit him. Oh, never mind, he's gone already. Even though it is indeed a lot harder than the regular version, it actually isn't that hard on its own, just a more annoying and slow fight because of how much of a pain getting hits in can be. But it also does nothing interesting in comparison to its original fight, which the Dream versions need to do to justify their existence. Mechanically it is almost the same, except it is faster, and the atmosphere is literally the same. Nothing about this fight tells me more about the character's past or anything really. An annoying asshole. Moving on.
I'm a fire in my laser!
Is either of these two anyone's favorite boss? If so, why? This is another case of a boss that just feels like a stronger than average regular enemy. It literally is a crystallized husk with more crystals on its body. The 2 fights are essentially the same, except the enriched version does double damage. The fact that this is the only boss in the Crystal Peak is a huge disappointment, because it is a very cool area otherwise. But despite being really boring, the nice visuals and cool lasers keep it from being on F tier. Also, I like that you have to fight them for the bench. That's fun.
Speaking a Star Wars language.
For the most part, I didn't really consider the fights in God Home for the ranking. However, I need to rant about this motherfucker, whose idea was to put this asshole who constantly moves around in an arena with 5 minuscule and shitty platforms. Good luck getting close with his shield on the way, and no floor to land on after attacking him. And let's hope one of his spears doesn't spawn on the platform you're trying to land on, that would be tragic. And let's hope after you get hit you don't get yeeted into the void. Just like the other Dreamers, Markoth is very bouncy, but it is particularly bad for this fight and arena. Since your best chance for damage is when he does the spinny shield thing, each time you attack him, you potentially put yourself in the way of that attack. So you better hope that he gets stuck against the ledge whenever you attack him. Oh, just play defensively. I hate playing defensively. Quick slash is my religion. I hate Markoth in this form so much. That being said, regular Markoth is fine. The bounciness still is annoying with the spinning shield, but since the arena actually has a floor, it doesn't feel as terrible. And he has a cool lore and design, so whatever, man. He would be a high C tier boss if it wasn't for the God Home arena, which is the arena for Pantheon 5. You know how shitty it is to lose a Pantheon 5 run because of this bullshit? I hate Markoth!
Oh, it's Who, Doctor Who.
That's right, Doctor Who, Dr. Alan Who.
No, but I thought it was Who, like Doctor Who.
If we only count the base form of the Dreamers, Elder Who is by far the worst one. All of them tend to be very simple, but man, this one goes too far in that sense. The attacks are so repetitive and uninteresting to play around. And the worst one by far is the one in which he disappears and the rings go over the entire arena. Great, I love waiting for the enemy to come back while dodging a very simple attack. That's so fun. This guy doesn't even have different faces, and if he does, I can barely tell. His tragic lore saves him from F tier though, and that was D tier. There are a few bosses I'd say I hate. This is a really good game. Let's get on to C tier and number 36.
1990. Spaghetti.
Gruz Mother is a straightforward but fine enough fight for an early game boss. She actually has more than one attack, unlike the stupid fly, and the tiny arena actually makes for a relatively tense fight. It is another case of a boss that feels like a stronger than average regular enemy, especially with the design having no difference from a regular Gruzzer, but it is charming enough, especially with the fake out ending with her children coming out to attack you.
About the Orb of Confusion.
Mechanically, the fight against Gorv is kinda boring, with the attacks being very simple and the ramping in difficulty between each phase barely making any difference. It is also annoying how bouncy he is, with him constantly flying off out of range and not coming back down for some time. With that being said, I don't care, because this guy is very funny. He may have a giant brain, but there's not a single thought in that mind of his. I love the sounds he makes, just a silly Billy. Soul Warrior is another boss that doesn't have the feel of a boss. It literally has no name introduction. What is this, Benchfly King? But despite being pretty sauceless, mechanically it's actually fun. Nothing to write home about, but his attacks are varied enough to feel dynamic. The teleporting mechanic actually works well with this one, and I always enjoy a good sword duel. This game needs more of those, to be honest. So yeah, flavorless but fun enough gameplay.
Not quite my tempo. It's all good, no worries. Here we go.
Massive Moss Charger is super straightforward and boring, and another one that just feels like a regular enemy but slightly stronger. I mean, it literally looks like a regular Moss Charger, but you know, massive. But, and it is a big but, attacking him is like a cool rhythm minigame, and that is amusing. So yeah, even though critically I say this one is a bad boss, I honestly have a lot of fun playing against it.
That's Filato in buildings, bro!
I'm not Filato, it's not Filato.
That's not Filato?
This is. That's Filato.
Damn, bro!
I always really like it when bosses come in pairs and become angry after you beat one of them, and Oblobles pull off that concept fairly well. It's really fun playing around this mechanic, taking turns to damage them in order to make the enraged phase as short as possible. And hitting them with massive shrieks, it's always a lot of fun. And even though they only have one attack, it is difficult enough for the fight to feel challenging, especially since there is the pressure of not failing the trial of the conqueror. I do have to dock them points for just being bigger obels. That's boring.
Like, explain to me, like, what the visual effects
what the visual effect is.
A bunch of buttholes.
The lady said buttholes, Sam.
Brooding Mawlek is sadly another one of those bosses that has the vibe of a stronger than average enemy, especially since later you find actual regular enemies that are his family and look about the same. Or maybe you found them before like me, because I had no idea the Brooding Mawlek existed until I was trying to get 100%. However, it is complex enough mechanically to dispel that feeling somewhat. It only has a couple of moves, but they are fun to play around, especially the one in which it vomits over half the arena. Though the arm swipe is annoying to deal with, but skill issue on my part to be honest. And I've actually grown to enjoy the visual storytelling here, with the corpses of his brethren in the background informing us of why he's so broody. So yeah, cool boss. No Eyes is the most boring Dreamer fight by far. Ghost projections fly around at a shaman snail's pace, and as you get close to killing her, more ghost projections appear. It is insultingly easy and basic, but it is also annoying, because she teleports often enough that you have to be constantly chasing her around. Mechanically, it is F tier. But we all know why this boss can't actually be in F tier. The atmosphere in this one is immaculate. Her creepy design conveys so much, without a single word. The use of her singing instead of music is so unsettling, and the whistling wind produced by her ghostly attacks adds so much to the vibes. The lore for this one is incredible as well. A warrior led to madness by the infection, who hurt others and took their eyes away, believing she was saving them. So yeah, the fight itself is really bad, but the vibe here is impeccable.
Hey, guys. Remember that ledge in Crommerax's lair?
Oh man, the ledge.
The lead up to Nosk is incredible. The creepy lack of music, the copies of the night that are no longer there once you reach where they were, the walls of dark silk being closed at your back as you walk into the trap, and finally, the reveal. Another night that breaks, screams, and morphs into a terrifying arachnid. Nosk itself is incredible as well. A skeletal and creepy design that perfectly shows their nature. And their arena conveys so much, with the strung up bodies and vessels in the background showing us that they've been doing this for a while now. Nosk is the ultimate predator down in Deep Nest. Not even the stalking devouts are safe from them. And the music is just so good. So with all of that in mind, it is a shame that the fight itself is kind of boring, especially because of how cheesable it is. Like, I'm thankful the ledge exists, because it actually allowed me to beat them during my first playthrough, but it also just makes the fight less engaging. Oh, just don't use it, you may be saying. Buddy, if the game offers me a free cheese, I'll take it, I'm a rat. Beyond all that, his moves are a bit too simple as well, just vomiting every once in a while and running from one side to the other. Similar to No Eyes, incredible vibe, but disappointing gameplay. That was all of C tier. Let's get to B tier with number 28.
I felt like a Xerox of a person, you know what I mean?
Zero is probably going to be the first Dreamer Warrior players encounter. And he's also probably going to beat their ass. I mean, he beat mine at least. As most Dream battles, this is a straightforward fight, but I really enjoy it nonetheless. His attacks are fun, and the second phase is a good and natural increase in difficulty, and the fight feels fair for the most part. His design is really badass, and his story of insanity and betrayal compelling. Cool boss. That moment in which you see the silhouette of the Soul Master rise up in the distance, oh shit, it just got real. The Soul Sanctum is such a cool area, and reaching the beautiful arena on top feels so great. A perfect place for a boss battle. I also really love the lore with the Soul Master, and how his dive attack connects to his soul research. It's not the most intense fight in the game, but unlike his Dream version, the speed of the teleporting feels a lot more appropriate and fun to play around. Especially since you probably only have dash at this point. The fake out death is great too, luring you into a false sense of safety during your first playthrough, only to transition into the second phase, smashing through the glass ceiling into a new arena. And that new arena, holy crap, the piles upon piles of dead bugs instantly tell you about the horrifying nature of this guy's power. My biggest issue with this one though is that final phase. It is somewhat disappointing, being very easy and straightforward, since the dives aren't that hard to avoid, and after that, he stays still for you to hit him, which makes for an underwhelming ending. But overall, a fun boss and a good conclusion for the Soul Sanctum area.
You must bow, Zote.
Is this fight filled with bullshit RNG? Yes. Can it sometimes feel like just tanking is the best strategy? Yes. Is it annoying and way too simple? Yes. Do I still love her? Yes. Marmu is stupid and I adore her. This is the only Dreamer warrior that fully takes advantage of the bounciness inherent to all of these bosses, with the whole fight being built around you bouncing Marmu with each attack. Her sounds are hilarious, her design is cute, her lore is bittersweet, and she is perfect. End of the discussion.
Prepare for trouble!
Make it double!
I wish you could tell these fuckers apart. That'd be great. Beyond the fact that brothers Aura and Mato are exactly the same, with the exception of their charge attack, this is a pretty cool fight. Battles with multiple bosses are hard to pull off well, but aside the bullshit run they do from one side to the other, I feel like this one is pretty balanced. I like their moves, which are simple but not easy to avoid because of their big hitboxes, and I like how they behave differently based on where you are on the arena. Going one at a time if you are on the sides, and ganging up on you if you make the horrible mistake of going to the center. My biggest issue with this one and the other two Nailmaster bosses is that they aren't part of the base game. This pair is also particularly annoying as the final boss of Pantheon 1-2, because that Pantheon is of course super easy, with the exception of these two. I cannot tell you how many times I lost to them, which is so annoying. Now I have to go through the easy boring bosses all over again, I hate it! Sorry, this entry kind of went off the rails. Flawed boss fight, but overall good.
I am dead. I died and now I'm a ghost. This isn't fair. It isn't fair.
The best Dreamer warrior, and the fact that it is number 24 goes to show you that the Dreamer warriors aren't the most interesting. Galleon is a fun boss, with very clear faces and difficulty spikes between each one. His main attack is also really cool. The spinning sight is just so badass, but it is also really fun to play around, separating it from Galleon so you can get a lot of easy hits in. I think it is also the only Dreamer where the bounciness isn't an issue at all, with the exception of Marmu, of course. Galleon has actual weight, he doesn't fly off into the sky each time you tap him. As all Dreamers, once you understand it, it goes by very quickly, but fun gameplay, a cool design, and interesting lore make it a good boss fight.
What do you mean you lost the
kin?
Go find it.
Lost Kin is without a doubt an upgrade mechanically to its original form, and beyond that, just by itself, it is a very fun and challenging fight, with a very fast and entertaining pace to it. When I first fought it, I did hate it, because I thought it was just too fast and that the minions were annoying, but I've really grown to appreciate the difficulty of it, since it has a great learning curve and it is a very satisfying fight to master. So even though mechanically it is about the same to Broken Vessel, the extra speed makes it a really solid upgrade. But sadly, while gameplay wise it is better, the lack of change flavor wise is extremely egregious and reeks of wasted potential. Most Dream bosses don't change anything visually, but they really should have done something for this one. And I usually don't like to suggest changes of my own, but one idea I think would have been great for this one is to incorporate void elements into its design. Since this is the Dream version, it could harken back to its stronger past, before it got taken over by the infection. In that sense, keep it the same mechanically, but have his design be filled with void instead of infection. The balloons could have turned into shades, and the infection spam could have been replaced with a void spam. I don't know, maybe some of these ideas would go against the lore, but man, it is so boring that it is exactly the same visually.
Yo, the guy, did you kill my dog?
Did you guys attack the Tamer the first time you fought this boss, thinking you had to kill both enemies? I did. Like a big stupid fool.
Did you get that?
God Tamer is a worthy challenge to finish off the Trial of the Fool. Being hard, but not too bad. It is fast paced enough to have some difficulty, but not too fast, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. It is a lot of fun isolating the beast from the Tamer, and the concept of a beast Tamer fighting alongside their beast is always great. Both of their designs are really cool and distinct as well. So yeah, fun battle. I do feel bad for killing their pet though, sorry girl.
I'm such a fangirl, I love Drake.
Oh my gosh, me too. Yes, he's so dreamy.
To everyone who hates Great Prince Zote because he's kind of random and doesn't telegraph well a lot of his moves, have you considered the following? Funny. I don't care if the gameplay is kind of janky. The mere existence of this fight is hilarious. I love that this is basically bred as fan fiction about Zote, how there's multiple Zotes in the background worshipping her, how the boss gains more and more adjectives as you continue to beat him. Guys, this shit is so funny and charming, and even if the gameplay is kind of janky, I still enjoy the fight itself a lot. It is a fast-paced boss battle and one of the most versatile bosses, with multiple moves in his arsenal, some of which are also so funny. This stupid-ass run he does is hilarious, I don't get how so many people can dislike this one. The slam from the ceiling is kinda bullshit though, I'll give you that. How does he always manage to land on top of me? He's like a goddamn heat-seeking missile.
When the imposter is sus!
How did the maggot reach the arms of the armor? When you expel him out of the suit, he is like 3 centimeters long. What the hell? False Knight and Failed Champion are the only boss and Dream variant I put at the same level. Despite the Failed Champion not doing much differently flavor-wise, mechanically it is so much more fun, with the added difficulty being notable but also very fair. Beyond the comparison, I really enjoyed this character and both fights. Big strong Brood is always a fun type of enemy in games, and the attacks that come from that archetype are really fun in both of these fights. At the same time, I really love the subversion of them not being an actual strong and huge knight, but a maggot who claimed the armor in hopes of protecting his kind, and the gameplay is really solid. Like I said, False Knight is considerably easier, but he does provide a very good challenge as an early game boss, especially considering how hitting him while in his armor provides no soul, adding soul management into the mix. And for the Failed Knight, while the 2 masks of damage make it very threatening, the fact that you have the Dream Nail at that point and can mass soul during his stagger makes it very manageable. Overall, a fun and compelling character, with an incredible music theme and 2 fights that feel tuned just right in regards to their difficulty for the times you encounter each one. Great stuff! And that was B tier. Let's get into A tier with number 19.
Siblings, 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 siblings.
The lack of music, with only the wind howling as the infection fills the broken vessel's head, resurrecting it filled with hatred. Oh man, what an introduction to this fight. I love the different moveset option this guy has, combining the skills of a vessel, of the nail, dashes, jumps and ground slams with the skills granted to it by the infection, with infection orbs sprouting from it and infected balloons coming to its aid. The infection attacks in particular can feel spammy at first, but once you practice it a little bit, they have very clear trajectories that are satisfying to learn. But it is the vibe that makes this fight really shine. I already talked about the intro, but the broken vessel's design is incredible. The music theme is one of the best in the whole game, and the ending with it reaching out to you is genuinely so sad. The whole point of the vessels is that they were supposed to be emotionless, but this moment goes to show you that they weren't, making their story much more tragic and powerful. This one isn't necessarily great gameplay-wise, but it has some incredible storytelling.
We're gonna be talking about the
Caramba!
We'll be talking about the
Edito!
Do you think that's funny, butthead? Do you find it amusing that we'll be talking about
Hegale!
Yes, we're also gonna be talking about
Drossik Halimo. Get
the and we will definitely be spending a lot of time talking about
Shaw!
With the mandatory Hornet funny sounds meme out of the way, let's talk about the actual boss fight. By far the best early game boss. When you fight it in Godhome, it is a complete cakewalk, but at this point in the game, when you basically have no abilities, it makes for a great and satisfying challenge, especially since she's the first boss to actually have more than 2 attacks. And it makes for a great introduction to the game's real difficulty. But it also isn't too tough, with long stagger phases and relatively low speed, making it fun and not frustrating to learn it, even in a first playthrough. So yeah, great early game fight and a great introduction to this amazing character.
Whoa, is that blackface, dude?
No, this isn't blackface, I'm an actual demon.
Creepy ass motherfucker, and I love them. The build up to the Collector is great. Entering the Tower of Love, a place devoid of enemies with the exception of those trapped in jars, most of which are dead, instantly tells you of the twisted nature of whoever resides in this place. There's almost a sense of sexual depravity to it, with the place being called Tower of Love, the paddle pink walls, and the laughing and moaning you hear while going up. And once you meet them, its design perfectly complements the creepiness of the introduction. A creature made of void, with distinct yet undefined features. Tall, slim,
Jim.
Such a perfect visual design. The music that accompanies too is also incredible, a distorted version of Decisive Battle. Everything about this guy's existence is wrong. I do have to admit that most of the charm of this fight comes from the visuals and general vibe of it, with the gameplay being rather simple. But, with that being said, I do think it fits the character very well that it has a more evasive style of combat, mostly relying on the captured minions it throws your way. Overall solid but not great gameplay boosted by an amazing atmosphere.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Michael with a B, and I've been afraid of insects my entire life.
Stop. Where? Where's the bee?
There's a bee.
When I saw that huge bee in the background, my first thought was, oh yeah, that's the boss. Only after the fight I realized it was a huge corpse. Oh well, what we got still is really cool. Hive Knight is another sword duel type kind of fella, and I really like that. I think it's really great how it connects itself to Hornet with some similar attacks, especially the spiky honey circles being very similar to Hornet's Stink Shard. since that tells us they were both trained in the Hive and in the same combat style. It is a fast-paced fight that feels super satisfying to learn and master. When I first fought it, it took me like 8 tries. But after going through the whole of God Home DLC, when I came back for this speedrun playthrough, I easily got it first try. A really fun fight, even though the Hive Knight himself isn't the coolest flavor-wise.
Who painted the Mona Lisa? Mona Lisa. Oh, yeah. Da Vinci?
I really love that we fight Shio in his Paint Master form instead of his Nail Master form. Even as a fighter, he continues to pursue his artistic dreams, and I believe we can all learn from that. In that sense, it is a very charming fight. It is lovely how the arena gets colored over by his different attacks, and I love how they are telegraphed with the color on the paintbrush. The moves themselves are also pretty fun to dodge, and despite being rather easy, I always enjoy this one. Once again though, my biggest issue with it is that it isn't part of the base game.
Have y'all ever started a fight and it was just one of you and then all three of y'all beat somebody?
I genuinely don't get why so many people hate the Watcher Knights fight. It is hard, sure, but I find it to be fair and easy to get consistent at once you learn it. I've seen some claim it has too much RNG, but all 3 of their attacks are well telegraphed, so even if they both pick the role, it isn't too bad getting out of the way. I personally really like this one. It has a great learning curve and a lot of charm to it. I already mentioned I like fights with multiple bosses, and this one feels like a mini boss rush, one coming after the other. I also really love the crunchy sound they make whenever you hit them. It is so satisfying. This one is a fast-paced and really fun to learn fight. Great stuff. No, Cloth, don't attack him. I promise you I can beat him on my own. Cloth, no! Rest in peace, you beautiful cicada. You were my best friend. Traitor Lord is a great fight, and I love how it works as a combat tutorial for the Shade Dash, with all of its moves being built around it. Even with the lack of time to heal during the fight and the double damage from his attacks, it feels super balanced, since once you realize that all of them are built to be dodged with the Shade Dash, it becomes fairly easy to do it no hit or with few hits at least. It is also a cool ass design. I love this guy, he's so badass. In regards to that, I love the backstory with him and all of the other Mantis traitors, being cast away from their tribe after they went mad with the power offered by the infection. Incredible fight. The only bad thing about it is the out of nowhere walk towards you. That is some bullshit.
That is one big pile of shit.
I adore the Dunk Defender. Just his laugh, which you hear before you even reach his combat arena, makes me so happy. He is such a great character, with some of the best voice lines in the game.
Doma, Doma!
And one of my favorite designs in all of it. He's tough looking but also really adorable and funny. Since he's one of the few enemies that isn't infected, he has so much personality beyond, you know, murder, which is perfectly conveyed through his boss fight. Originally, I was so sad when I first beat him, only to later realize he was still alive. Let's fucking go! And the fight itself is delightful. It certainly is on the easier side once you learn it, especially with how Desolate Dive forces him out of the ground, but still, his moves are so much fun to play around. The best feeling in the world is when he turns into a ball,
Of course I was the ball,
and begins jumping around, and then you can juggle him. I love that part so much. An easy one, but so charming nonetheless.
No. Why? The sun is a deadly laser. Okay.
Who decided it was okay to make this shit so bright? Some of her attacks I literally cannot see get telegraphed because of it. Despite that brightness problem, the fight against Absolute Radiance is pretty great. Her moves are exactly the same as regular Radiance, but a lot faster, and even though this is the hardest fight in the game, and at first can feel kind of unfair, it is super satisfying to slowly learn it and finally beat it, especially when you do so on Pantheon 5. It is a dynamic fight with multiple phases that are very different from each other, and a lot of the time, this one feels more like a platforming challenge rather than a boss, especially during the actual platforming section, which I'm terrible at, by the way. I do have to dock it points for the final phase though. I really don't like the end to this fight. It is way too short and just sort of annoying having to chase her down while simultaneously dodging the goddamn bottle caps. Despite that, overall it is a really great fight gameplay wise, and I do actually like it a lot more in that sense than regular Radiance. So, why is it lower than the base form? Well, it is because the redesign is boring. They literally just make her brighter, dude. This is the final form of the Radiance, the true version of her unmatched power. And it looks the exact same as regular Radiance, but the glow at her back is bigger, which is so boring and disappointing. I don't know if it would have gone against the lore, but they could have given her something, man, anything else. Such a letdown in the vibes department. I also have some problems with the context surrounding this boss, even if that is more a critique towards Pantheon 5's design. Having to go through all of the bosses in the game, most of which are easy at that point and just feel like extra padding, just to unlock this motherfucker is so annoying. And the worst part is, you get healed before Absolute Radiance anyway. What is the point of the boss rush mode? Pantheon 5 is literally the Absolute Radiance fight, but with a lot of prior bullshit. So yeah, I have a lot of issues with this one in regards to her implementation and atmosphere reworking. But the gameplay is undeniably amazing, and a really great challenge.
First of all, congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
Funny small guy gets to wield big sword, a perfect formula for a boss fight. When you first reach Great Nail Sage Sly, he feels kind of impossible. He is constantly attacking and his small hitbox is protected by his huge nail. How are you supposed to even hit him without him killing you? And it's not like you can try to tank it, because he doesn't really give you much chance to heal. But then you realize that his attacks have very clear and well telegraphed patterns, and there's ways of playing around them and getting damage in, mainly through the great slash nail art. I really love how the fight in which you get the most out of nail arts is the one against the Nail Sage, at least in my case. I know some people are cracked with them and use them all the time to great effect. The final phase is also a lot of fun, also feeling very unfair at first, but once you get the rhythm of it, it is super satisfying to beat. This one isn't a fight, it is a dance. I really love it. Though, just like the other Nail Masters, I wish it was part of the base game. From a narrative standpoint, the Hollow Knight is the best fight in the game, and a worthy final boss, even if it's not the true one. The whole game has been leading up to this moment, and that first scream after you break the chains feels so incredibly epic. The way the infection seeps out of its body, unable to continue with their task and contain it any longer, perfectly tells you of the pain they're going through. When it is lifted off the ground, using their whole body to try and stomp you, it perfectly encapsulates how they've turned into a puppet, losing control of themselves. And the second phase is so tragic and powerful. The shift in the music, with the slow violins that slowly build up, accompanied by the Hollow Knight stabbing themselves, can be confusing at first. But then you realize, what you're doing is not killing them, it is mercy. It is an extremely powerful and emotionally charged boss fight, even without dialogue. That being said, I wish it wasn't so easy, man. Like, I get this isn't the true final boss and that you're assisting them in ending their own life, but I still wish it was more challenging. On my first playthrough, I easily got it on my first try, and even on the speedrun playthrough, which is the footage you're seeing, I got it first try as well, despite having very few upgrades and also playing like absolute ass. The worst part is that I actually quite like the moves themselves. They're well designed, but I think the low speed, too short range on some of them, and the constant staggers just make this boss way too easy for the ending one. But still, the atmosphere and narrative carries a lot of it, even if the gameplay is somewhat disappointing. And that was A tier. Let's finally get onto S tier with number 8. Holy shit, is that a reference to the 2025 hit game Silk Song? Despite being very similar to the first fight, the higher speed of Hornet Sentinel and her two new attacks, the Sting Shard and the parry, add a lot of flair and challenge to the rematch against her. This fight was one of the most satisfying ones to master, at least for me. When I first fought her, it took me a bunch of tries, and it took me quite a bit to get it consistently on Got Home. So when I finally fought her in my second playthrough, it was so satisfying to get it first try, and so smoothly. Beyond the great gameplay changes, I love how different the vibes feel on this one. You are no longer on the beautiful and serene green path, but rather on the stormy and foreboding Arena of Kingdom's edge, which fits the moment in the story you are now in, with the stakes being much higher and the truth being so close to you. Truly one of the best rematches in the game.
We have a child together.
Guys, I'm so sorry, I wanted to let him bow. I accidentally attacked him instead of dream nailing. I promise I'm a decent person. I love Grim and his twink ass. This character design is so big. I love what it does with the vampire concept, clearly inspired by the traditional look of it, but also being very different to any other vampire in media. It is so unique and cool. I love this dude. The sounds he makes as well are peak. I love his voice.
Oh, so man.
And the vibes on this battle are absolute cinema. I love how the whole fight is this macabre dance presentation, with the audience in the background, the lighting, and Greens bowing both at the beginning and end. The color palette is beautiful and the music, holy shit, peak! The gameplay is also really great. Each of his attacks is unique and I adore finding the openings to get hits in. Even though it can be relatively easy once you figure it out, it still is a very satisfying and fun fight to learn and master. This one goes so incredibly hard.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them.
Peak right here, everybody, absolute peak. The first time you face the Mantis Lords is incredible. Oh, okay, so it's going to be a duel against each one at a time. That's great, their moves are fast-paced, but also fair, and have a very clear rhythm to them. Okay, 1 down, so far so good. Oh fuck, it's the 2 of them! That is the moment this fight goes from great to absolutely incredible. It makes a fast-paced fight even faster, and even though it is very challenging on a first playthrough, it never feels unfair, with each of their attacks being properly telegraphed and giving you plenty of chances to hit them. It is a super aggressive fight, with almost no time to heal, which creates very dynamic gameplay. Beyond that, I love these 3 characters as well. It's really nice to have a boss fight that is an honorable duel rather than the boss trying to murder you because of their infected mind. And this one is a test, since afterwards they open deepness for you. They just had to make sure you could handle it. This is an incredible fight, and I didn't even mention the music theme, but yeah, it is peak as well.
Hey, can I get a what?
I too would like to create a pandemic throughout the world when people forget my birthday. Oh Radiance, you salty bitch. I really love how the main villain of this game is an entity that represents light. Such a cool subversion of the classic fantasy trope of light versus dark, with the light being the evil in this case. The whole lead up and intro to her fight feels so cinematic, with you entering the Hollow Knight's mind into this bright and dreamlike place. And finally, with Ghost issuing a challenge. The gigantic sun in the background revealed to be her. That first appearance of Radiance alongside her scream and the full title presentation gave me so much chills, especially with how amazing her design is. She is almost angelic, but in a twisted and uncanny way, with her long pointy legs and her spiky crown speaking to her violent nature, and even her moth wings feel wrong, looking almost like tentacles. And actually talking about the fight, her attacks have the same design philosophy. They're majestic, many of them being reminiscent of White Palace, and it feels so incredibly epic to weave in between them. Even though after fighting Absolute Radiance this one feels rather easy, I still think this one is a lot more fair, with more reasonable speed, platforms that aren't tiny as hell, and a brightness level that doesn't make me go blind. At the same time, it does provide a lot of challenge, at least on a first playthrough, and it has a great learning curve to it. And finally, that last climb as the music builds and your siblings accompany you in the background feels so grand and heroic, ending in one final hit against the Radiance. This leads to my personal favorite ending. Dream No More has the perfect mix of triumph and tragedy to it, and it is the most earned and fitting ending to this game's story. The Radiance fight is incredible. But you wanna know what's even better and more epic than the Radiance fight? That's right, the upgraded shit throwing guy. Let's fucking go!
Not like white Ranger, I'm not like, I was green and then I changed into white, but I'm not like proud of that.
I adore the White Defender. This is one of the few boss variants that truly feels like an improvement in every way, and that it actually does something new with the fight. I love the redesign of this one. Even if it's a simple recoloring, it does a lot for the character, harkening back to his glorious past as one of the great 5 knights, with an incredibly heroic sounding OST to boot. While he retains his fun and friendly vibe, being able to see Ogrim in his prime is so cool. And in that sense, the higher difficulty not only feels better gameplay wise, but also from a narrative sense. His higher speed, more projectiles and new attacks make this one so fun to play against. In particular, I love the spikes that come up from the ground after he dives, forcing you to double jump over them or dash through them. It's also a boss that even after a lot of fights, I still find it to be very challenging. It's not one I simply go on autopilot, I actually have to focus. Since he gives you no time to heal, it can be very punishing if you make a lot of mistakes. But it is also extremely fair, with no notable RNG bullshit and very clearly telegraphed attacks. And when you beat him, I generally get kind of emotional, with him reaching out to the king and the other knights, only to be thrown back into the reality where they are no longer there, with only the statues of them to keep him company. Damn man, I love Ogrim, he deserves so much better. The White Defender is an impeccable upgrade and boss fight.
3! Take it or leave it!
Look closely, you will see there's
Just three of us. Just three of us.
I cannot believe they took what was already peak and made it even more peak. And it is such a simple change too, simply going from fighting 2 of the Mantis Lords to all 3 of them at the same time, with no new attacks or anything else like that being necessary to improve the challenge of the fight. And despite the Sisters of Battle being quite a bit harder, the spike in difficulty feels perfect here, since compared to the first fight, you'll now have all your upgrades and movement options, as well as a bunch of new charms. So it's not overwhelming at all, at least not much more than the regular Mantis Lords. I honestly don't have much new to say about this one compared to the first one, but the simple decision to make you fight all 3 of them is perfect, and really elevates this boss battle.
What's your connection with your dad like?
I love nail fights, oh my god, I love them! Pure Vessel makes up for the somewhat disappointing gameplay of the Hollow Knight fight, since this is such an incredible upgrade. Its moves are relatively simple, with both of them having a dash, a 3-swing attack, a jab into the ground that spouts spikes, a parry, and a range attack of multiple projectiles. But the increased speed and the double damage of the Pure Vessel perfectly conveys how this was their peak of their power and skill, before being locked and getting taken over by the infection. This is furthered by their ability to use focus as well as void power in the form of the tendrils, both of which feel so badass. Beyond the feel that this increased power gives, the gameplay is spectacular in this one. When I first tried it, I felt completely overwhelmed. It was too fast, too big of a hitbox, just too tough, man. But more so than any other boss in the game, this one has an incredible learning curve to it. It is so satisfying how you slowly get better at it, and learning how to play around their attacks. Especially since I'd argue that this is one of the most fair fights in the game, with perfect telegraphs and an incredible rhythm to the whole battle. But even seeing them in the peak of their power, the OST and the chains that litter the arena tell you of the tragic existence of this character. Pure Vessel is so absolutely amazing, and yet there's one fight I consider to be even better. It's kinda weird how this fight only lasts 20 seconds. Oh no, wait, that's how my first hour of attempts went. Nightmare King Grim is my favorite boss in the game, despite how when I first fought it, I was humiliated like an absolute fool. But that's the thing, even though this one at first feels impossible, with his speed being so fast to the point it feels like your reflexes simply can't keep up, this is the second most satisfying fight to learn in the whole game, right after Pure Vessel. Understanding the different ways to play around his attacks, when to find the right time to hit him, and simply learning to keep up with his speed feels so rewarding. When I first fought him, it took me about 3 hours, and for the footage you're seeing right now, it only took me 3 tries, despite forgetting to equip strength like an absolute fool. Despite all of his phases being the same, with no new attacks and such, the way the fight progresses with the change in the background feels so epic and foreboding, and that is what pushes this fight slightly over Pure Vessel for me, the atmosphere and the vibes. This fight fucking rocks. Literally, just listen to the music. I swear to god, only Grim could have a theme like this in this game and make it feel right and fit in the universe. The background is a work of art as well, feeling hellish, with the palpitating heart and the spectators that no longer applaud, observing in a quiet creepiness, almost like a cult. The introduction does so much as well, with him bursting out of the Nightmare Heart and being one of the few bosses to have a full screen name introduction. And dude, he deserves it. He is the coolest motherfucker around. Nightmare King Grim is basically a perfect boss, and without a doubt, my favorite battle in all of Hollow Knight. I feel like I'm forgetting something. What could it be? Oh shit, I forgot about Absolute Peak. The Eternal Ordeal is the best part of this game, 11 out of 10. Peak Hollow Knight, S+ tier, Absolute Cinema, Infinite Souls, look at this shit. This is the best. Total peak gameplay, I love the Eternal Ordeal, the best piece of media ever created. So, that's the list. I can't wait for people to tell me how wrong I am. Despite not being a long-time fan of this game, it has quickly become one of my favorite games ever, regardless of some of the issues I have with it, and its boss fights are some of the best in all of my gaming experience. And yet, somehow, I argue Silksong improved upon them, which is why I'm so excited to make that ranking video next. So make sure to subscribe to not miss it, baby! As usual, subscribe, comment, like, and that entire algorithm jazz. If you liked, make sure to let me know to boost my ego. If you didn't, let me know in what way I could improve, but be respectful, or I will cry. Okay guys, have a good one.